What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is Two Having to Host Charlotte, season 1, episode 5. It's a little late. I told you guys I was going out of town this weekend. It's my birthday Tuesday, but I've been celebrating since Friday. I'm only taking a brief hiatus tonight. So I'll be celebrating again tomorrow night. Don't expect no reviews from none of my Monday night shows tomorrow night because it ain't happening. I'm letting y'all know now. Y'all will get them Tuesday-ish. Anyway, so this was Saturday night's episode. So we start the episode off with Peter, Josh, and Julianne. They are going on Juliana, and they are going on a podcast. Was it Fly Time? Fly Tie? Fly Tie. Um, they have a popular podcast and radio show in the Charlotte area. And so they were going on there to talk about their unique situation with their modern family situation with Juliana and Josh having been married, and now Josh being in a relationship with Peter, and how they're parenting the two girls. And so Juliana took this as an opportunity to just throw some jabs at Elaine. She never called Elaine by name, but everybody knew who she, maybe not Fly Tie and his wife, but everybody, in the room knew who she was talking about. And Fly Tie, come to find out, is friends with the guys, so he might have known who she was talking about too. He was probably at, I was going to say Spikesylvania instead of Thanksgiving. I don't know where I got Spikesylvania from. Anyway, so, but she basically was saying how, yes, they have a unique relationship and how they're raising the kids, and how she was really offended that, someone, she didn't say a friend, someone made a very ignorant comment to her about the kids not being Peter's. And she said, we've never used the word stepfather because Peter has been in their lives from almost since birth, because come to find out that Peter's been in their lives since they were 1 and 2. And so they pretty much have only known this dynamic. And for them, it is normal. And, Juliana says Peter has always been a great parent to, um, to the girls. And I want to say this before we move any further, because I know that both Juliana and Josh, I'm not sure about Peter, look at my review. And I just want to say this for me to you guys. I think that whatever you guys are doing, it may not have been, perfect. You may have had your hiccups or your bumps in the road. But when you see those young ladies, and just the fact that Peter, and I say this to Peter, to take on a situation where you do become instant dad, whether it's, a heterosexual relationship or not, it's a lot to take on someone else to walk into a relationship and become instant dad. And so it could be a lot. I say all that to say that this could be a lot worse. And I think that, yes, there are going to be some hiccups, and there's not going to be a perfect situation, but you guys, I think, definitely are doing a really good job. And you're going to figure out the rest. You know what I'm saying? I'm just looking at it, and I'm just like, this could just be a really ugly situation, and it just is not. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents. But Peter felt sort of blindsided in the conversation, because he was like, well, I haven't had a chance to talk to Elaine. Elaine is a friend of mine. She's a really good friend of mine. And I would love to have gotten her side of the story before I was sort of put on the spot to have this conversation. And then his other thing was, we're here to talk about parenting. We're not necessarily here to talk about, I understand how the conversation progressed that way, but Juliana also took that as an opportunity to throw it out there. And she even said it. She was like, oh, I hope Elaine hears what I'm saying, because I didn't have an opportunity to say everything I wanted to say to her the other night. And I want her to know how I feel. So she purposely put it out there. And then Josh sort of took Juliana's side. But I understand why Josh took Juliana's side, because in his mind, he was like, you're not going to insult, I guess I felt like he was defending both of them in that moment. Like, because you're not going to insult Peter, you're not going to insult Juliana. And this is our situation. And, your opinion in this not necessarily wanted. And that's in this moment. But Peter didn't take it that way. Peter took it as sort of Josh and Juliana kind of having their side. and him taking Juliana's side over his side because he was like, Elaine is a friend of mine. And so it sort of put me in a weird situation. So we'll get back to that. But that's sort of how that whole conversation went down. And of course, Elaine is listening and she ain't happy about they called her she was called a bulldozer and everything else. And she's not happy about how that conversation went down. And so of course they're gonna have to have a conversation, her, Peter, Juliana, Josh later on. We'll get to that. Then we see Tayati and David. They are celebrating their son's birthday. I think he's turning 7. He's at the trampoline park, and it looks like they're having a really good party. And Lane got a little bit of a voice. She was singing "Happy Birthday." She sounded really good. She got a cute little voice. But seems as though David is starting to get used to this little nesting situation. He said, wasn't really feeling it at first. But hey, I can work late. I can hang out with the fellas. I can watch sports all night long. Starting to get a little used to this. And somebody put that in my comments last week. Somebody was like, nesting is all good and fine until somebody starts dating and somebody starts. And I mean, he didn't say he was dating because he did say that later on that he's still a married man and that he's not going to disrespect that. But he's getting used to the freedom that comes with not having to come home and be married and dad and all of that. He's getting used to it. And just as on the opposite end, Tayati is like, today is, we're co-parenting really well. Everything's sort of going really well. And it's sort of reminding me, of the David I fell in love with and making me think maybe we're moving a little too hasty. Versus the other side, David is like, this is reminding me or making me realize that if things don't work out, we'll be great co-parents. So this nesting thing, Miss Tayati, might be getting ready to backfire on you. If you really want to save your marriage, it might be. I don't know. Um, but it looks like, and David ends up going out with the fellas later on in the episode, and they want to sort of um start talking about the whole nesting thing again. And David was like, "Yo, I am not here for another intervention. I just want to hang out with the fellas, have some food." They went to like one of those axe throwing places and throw some axes. And, of course, and I get it where his friends are coming from. They're like, look, we like y'all together. We love y'all together. We don't want to see this, go left. And David's like, you know what? Some people ain't meant to be married forever. Like it's not any great failure. It just, sometimes things just happen. And I'm listening to David and I'm like, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I hear you, David. I hear you, bruh. Um, they well, we'll get to that. So then we see Christine and Juliana are hanging out. And they're getting to know each other. They're not the best of friends. They're kind of starting to get to know each other. And they both sort of feel sort of on the outside of the friend circle, so to speak. So they were getting a manicure, and Christine sort of opened up to Juliana about the fact that she's worried that she might be pregnant. She is on birth control, however, she doesn't have a regular period, or she said she hasn't had a period in a couple of years, but she's been spotting. She reached out to her gynecologist. Her gynecologist told her that could be a sign. Because contrary to popular belief, birth control is just that. It does not 100%. There are plenty of babies walking this earth whose parents got pregnant while they on birth control. So, and of course for Christine, that is scary for her. She doesn't. At the end of the day, I just don't think Christine wants kids. I don't. And far be it for me to speak for her, but I think she thought she wanted kids. I do. I don't think she lied to Daryl. I don't think she went into the marriage, for lack of a better word, tricking him. I think she thought we'll be married for a couple of years, we'll get certain things out of our system, we'll travel, we'll save up some money, we'll do all those things, and then I'll be ready to have children. I don't think she never thought she wanted children. However, I think right now I don't think she wants kids, period. And I think that she's, one, coming to grips with that for herself, and two, figuring out a way for her to share that with her husband in a way that won't jeopardize their marriage. because he wants kids. I think he understood in the beginning, and he was cool with not having kids in the beginning, but he very much wants children. And his thing is, okay, what we waiting for? Like, we've been married for 10 years. Ain't none of us getting any younger. We've got money. We've traveled. We've done all the things we said we wanted to do. What's the problem? And so it scares the hell out of Christine. Her gynecologist told her to go get a pregnancy test. She ain't done that yet either because she's scared she's scared to find out the results. She hasn't talked to her husband about it because, of course, one, I'm sure she doesn't want to get him all excited, but two, I'm sure she doesn't want to have to face the conversation that she's gonna have to face one way or the other. So there's that situation. Later on in the episode, we see them go out to dinner, and she goes around Robin Hood's barn to tell him that she might be pregnant. I mean, she expects him to understand how a woman's body works, and he was like, "What you trying to say? So what do you mean? So what does that mean? What are you trying to say? What does this mean? What does that mean?" And she finally has to tell him, "Look, I might be pregnant." And of course, he's happy. You know what I mean? And she's not. Ultimately, she's not. And he says, "Look, we'll just take a test. We'll figure it out." But you know, in his mind, like, we've been married for 10 years. If you pregnant, that ain't the end of the world. Like, we good. But she's all stressed out and nervous and upset. And he's like, "Yo, what's really going on?" And she's just telling him, "Look, it's just not time yet. We're not ready yet. We got other things to do. And he's like, "What else we got to do?" She was like, "Travel." He was like, "Oh, we haven't traveled." "Well, I need to work out and get my body together." He was like, "Really? Like, really? Like, for real? What's really the problem?" And like I said, I already told you what I think the real problem is. And again, that's just my opinion. I ain't speaking for nobody, but that's how I think. Um, and then she started going left field and started talking about her body and what her body won't do, and her vagina being stretched out of place. And of course, your body will never be the same after you have a child. I mean, that's just that. That's the reality of it. But can you get your body damn near back together? Look, it's a whole lot of mothers out here who's had children, especially with the kind of financial resources you have, ma'am, that can get your body damn near where you want it to be after a child. So that ain't it either. Anyway, um, I already talked about the guys going out to dinner, and really the biggest thing about that whole conversation. Another thing that David brought up was the fact that, he's the biggest thing that he's got a problem with is the fact that they're not sexually active. And his thing is, I really want to get me some. And I don't blame you. I don't blame you. It's been a long time. That's a natural part of marriage. But again, and I said this before, I think that's said in a review on one of my lives. For women, it's a lot harder for women to separate it. I'm not saying all women can't do it, because there are a lot of women who can, clearly. But for women, sex is a lot more emotional, and it's a lot more connected to how we feel about somebody. Not in every single situation, but I'm talking about, like, if you're not feeling somebody, like, you hate them because they left their dishes on the sink instead of putting them in the dishwasher, you know that you can get over. But if you think, I don't love you anymore, or I feel like I'm falling out of love with you, that's different. I ain't talking about, you tripped over his shoe at the bottom of the step type stuff. No, that you can get over. Anyway, so Elaine, Peter, Juliana, and Josh meet up for this conversation. Now look, here's how I see the situation. What Elaine said and what Elaine meant, I don't think are the same thing. What Elaine said was, Peter, those are not Peter's children. You should be dealing with Josh because you had children with Josh, not with Peter. What I think, because what Peter was complaining to you about wasn't about his responsibilities as a dad. He was complaining to you about Juliana's boundaries. And so, yes, you were defending your friend, but you were defending your friend wrong, because that's not what his issue is. His issue is never the kids. His issue wasn't the kids. His issues are Juliana's boundaries as it relates to the co-parenting. Like, he feels like she uses that as an excuse to be around too much or to cross boundaries that she should not cross. Like example, going back to the episode about it's our weekend to have the girls, go somewhere and have a good time. There's no need for us to do activities together this weekend. We have plans that we're going to spend time with the girls. I think that's where Peter was complaining. But what Elaine said was, sorry. What Elaine said was, you didn't have kids with Peter. Those aren't Peter's kids. So when they sat down to have the conversation, where I think Peter wanted to defend Elaine, he couldn't defend that. He couldn't defend that comment because that's not how he felt. And he was like, I've been in their lives since they were 1 and 2. Those are my kids. So, and then of course Elaine sort of was taken aback because I guess Elaine was like, hold up, player, like I'm defending you because you my friend, I'm defending you. But had you worded that differently, had you talked about the boundary issue, had you talked about the fact that Juliana does not respect the boundaries of the co-parenting relationship, Peter would have had you. You know what I'm saying? And so that conversation sort of didn't go well for anybody. Because then, of course, Elaine was like, well, if you wait for an apology, you're not going to get one because I'm not sorry about what I said. I meant what I said. I said what I meant. So that did not go too well. Yandrick, he went to the salon because, we talked about the fact that Elaine had to open up her that sort of happened before the talk. I kind of got ahead of myself. But Elaine and Yandrick were just talking about the fact that, Elaine is just trying to be a good friend and was trying to support Peter. He didn't appreciate her really being attacked on the radio and, just the financial situation where they're trying to be in a year so they can build towards that so she can sort of cut back on the working. Because right now it sounds like she's sort of the breadwinner. I ain't gonna say she's the only one bringing in money, but her business right now is bringing in a lot of their income so that they can maintain. But of course, that's not what he wants. He wants her to not have to work to pay the bills. He wants to be the breadwinner. He wants to be the one that's covering everything. So we saw a little bit of that. And they talked about that a few episodes ago as well. Ursula and Clint. I felt so bad for Clint in this episode. Ursula and Clint. Ursula has a opportunity to expand her practice because I believe she's a nurse, but she wants to start her own business. And they didn't really get into the details of what this own business was and what this business opportunity was. But neither here nor there. The business opportunity is that she can learn something that will help her expand her business. I don't even want to speculate because I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is at all. So I don't even want to speculate on what I think it might be. But what it is that she has to be 2 hours away for 4 days a week to get this training, I guess, for lack of a better word. And so she was talking to Clint about it, and before she could finish explaining to Clint what the situation was, Clint was like, no. She was like, no. She said, oh, you thought I was asking your permission. I wasn't. I was telling you this is what I'm going to do. And so Clint was upset by that. And so we see them have another conversation, and, she was like, look, I've never, I took a backseat to your career when we were raising our kids because you were the breadwinner. But now that we are empty nesters and I have an opportunity to expand my career, I need you to support me the way I supported you. You travel a lot for your business. And, and now one of the questions I had that I never really got the answer to was, how long does this have to go on? And maybe they said it and I missed it. I mean, is this something that's going to happen for 6 months and then after that she's good? Does this have to be an extended period of time? Is it only for a couple of weeks? Like, how long is she not going to be home for 4 nights out of the week? Because that is a long time to not be home. But it depends on how long this is going to happen for. You know what I mean? If it's 6 months, I mean, we can work through that. If you're talking about 2 or 3 years, that is a lot. And Clint and Ursula have an age difference. And so it came up that Ursula was like, I really think this is about the fact that you think I'm not going to need you. And Clint was very emotional. He was crying and Ursula was crying. And that is sort of what kind of came out. Clint said, I don't know what I would do if you get to the point where you realize you can live your life without me, like you don't need me, and you saw that it wasn't about him being controlling or not wanting her to um, fulfill her dreams. It was really more about his fear of what that meant for their relationship if she were to do these things. So, um, it was deep, and I felt really bad for Clint because I understood where he was coming from. I felt where he was coming from, and but she was like, "Look, I need this. I need this, and you know, this is what empty nesting means to me." Whereas that's the other thing in Clint's mind, empty nesting was this is our opportunity to travel and do all the things we couldn't do when we had children and maybe didn't have as much money. And so they're going to have to sort of redefine what empty nesting means for them. And again, what does this look like for our family? For this new family, we have this new dynamic. What does this look like? So it was a really good episode. Definitely some things that will continue to carry on that weren't resolved in this episode, but it was definitely a good episode. I think this is only a 10 episode season, so we're about halfway through. So we're going to start seeing, I guess, maybe some things be resolved. I'm not sure. Um, but anyway, so let me know what you guys think. Drop it in them comments. Peace. I believe that's it. Yeah, peace.